Good evening, family. You've tuned in again to The Journey, and we're pleased to have you with us tonight. We've got a very special program that The Journey is proud to present. Just so that you know, The Journey is a video broadcast that's designed to be informative, entertaining, and educational about topics of the day. We like to say that the journey is from me to you, and the journey is from you to me. And as part of this journey, my partner in crime, Charles Morris, is here. And Charles, why don't you take it?
Thank you so much, and welcome everybody. I'm Charles Morris, as part of the journey, as I said, my partner in crime. Happy to be here on this Friday with you. And Dr. Robinson came up with a very good topic, so I'm going to kind of sit back and probably learn some things myself. And I invited a friend, and you invited some of your friends. We have a very good topic today, so we're going to throw it back to you so you can tell us why we're here today on the Journey 2020.
Okay. Now, it's interesting. I want to start out by using truth in lending, or truth in what we present. Tonight, we had hoped to have a lawyer and a community representative. And I discovered somewhat late that tomorrow in Orlando is going to be the Jamaican American Annual Independence Ball. And so many of the folks that we wanted to participate are busy trying to get that together. But we have a group here of my fellow Yardis that will entertain and inform and educate you about, us as Jamaicans. And by the way, just so that you know, although there is not a strong accent, I am Jamaican. So please know that although my family teases me and said, why, you're Jamaican, you're not Jamaican, but just know that you're going to tonight know a little bit more about Jamaica, Jamaicans, and immigration. We call this show the Jamaican Journey, and it is one that is known by over 1 million people. Jamaica, although it is a country of approximately 2.5 million people, has over 2.8 million that have immigrated across the world. One of the interesting things is that almost where there is land, or sometimes where there isn't land, you'll find a Jamaican. I was able to find a Jamaican cooking, rice and peas in Norway way back in 1970s. So just know that there is nothing that limits us in where we go or who we are. But just so that you know who's joining us tonight, I want to firstly introduce you to our panel. And in front of me, to my left, is Pastor Bridget Norville. And Pastor Norville is the CEO of the Bridget Norville Ministries, and also has her own radio show called the TBN Show. So she is well prepared to share some interesting things with you tonight.
With a big smile on her face.
And in the middle of the couch is my good friend, Janet Bryan. And Janet always brings to me, brings me back to the roots. And knowing that she is in touch with what's going on today in Jamaica. To the right is Pastor Herman Bryan. And although in Jamaica, we like to say we're really all related, that by maternal and paternal relationships, they are not related. So without further ado, I'd like to start our discussion tonight by asking our panel, and whoever would like to go first, to go first, to just talk about what your experience was in coming to the U.S., and why do you think that most Jamaicans want to come to the U.S.? Okay. Pastor?
to put me on the spot there. Well, from what I understand, people, the Jamaicans come to the U.S. for a better life and to live the American dream. When I came to the U.S., I've been here since I was 5 years old, and it was for my grandmother to bring all her, her siblings and all her grandkids here to the U.S. to live that dream. But I guess I'll stop right there from the dream.
Okay. Janet or Foster?
Well, this is Janet. And when I came here in 1979 on Wednesday the 5th of September, when I left Jamaica, I remember vividly, I was in hobble skirts, spike heel shoes, and nice shirt. I didn't really come here as a sufferer. But I came with one intent, to educate my children. I was aiming for the best education money could not buy. And I did receive that for my children.
Okay, very good.
Well, it's always every person around the world ambition to be in the United States. It doesn't matter where you come from, whether Jamaica, Trinidad. America has always been a land of opportunity. And that's every person ambition to be in this country. I have the opportunity to serve on the U.S. Naval Base in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, for approximately about 4 years. And from there, even while I was there, my ambition was to be in the United States. For I know that if I could only reach here, things would be better for me. And since we're on the topic, and I know you want to hear some more about why I personally come to the United States, and I'm not ashamed. For I need people to hear what I really have to say.
Great.
Even though I was on a naval base, it doesn't have much impact on my life, because I just want to be in the United States. And nevertheless, when I arrive in the United States, I arrive here with everything that I own. But I've seen God fulfill my dreams, and my mission are being conquered.
Okay, very good. Pastor, I'd like you to just elaborate on that a bit more. That determination to come here for a better life, what did that really mean for you, that better life?
And you know that I have great ideas, great expectation. And where I come from in Jamaica, the opportunity wasn't there. I am a country boy. A young man who born in Kingston, grew up in Kingston, around they have all the opportunity, educational wise. Where I come from in Manchester, a place named Evergreen.
Okay.
If you don't get it at the age of 12, you can just consider one thing. Buy yourself a good machete. That's it.
Wow.
Buy yourself a good machete. So my desire and my ambition, I know deep down in my heart, I know what's there. I've seen, I can feel, I can identify with greatness in my life. But I know down in the country, it could have happened. So my greatest ambition was to be in this country. And one thing I come to realize, and I purpose in my heart, when I land in Boston, Massachusetts, I realized one thing, that the passport that I hold in my hand wasn't mine. Even though I have my name in it. It was a Jamaican passport. And I come to realize that I must live in this country as an ambassador, representing my country. And I believe with all conscience that I live up to that expectation until now. Never get in any trouble.
Okay.
Do everything that I possibly can by the grace of God. And I believe I'm on my way to a complete fulfillment of all my dreams right here in this country, for the land of opportunity.
Why do you feel so strongly that you should be the ambassador? Why do you feel so strongly about that?
You know something? Whether we believe it yes or no, every Jamaican that comes in this country is an ambassador. And if they only realize that, they would represent their country well. When Jamaica send out an ambassador, they expect them to live up to their expectation. When I hold a Jamaican passport, I consider myself as an ambassador, and anything I do in this country have an effect on my country, Jamaica.
Well, you know, Pastor, I really think that that is a very special thought. But, you know, I know many Jamaicans who have immigrated here, and the most desired thing by many of them is to, in psychology, what we would call assimilate, and that is to become thoroughly American. And basically, and I have friends like this who, when you mention Jamaica, will say, "Oh man, you know that was back then. I'm America now." And I'd like to ask Janet and Pastor Bridget, what do you think about that? Have you encountered that?
Okay, I guess I'll answer that. We adapt to our environment, and because and for me, when I was growing up, I didn't claim that I was Jamaican because we were made fun of. Remember, I was younger, and we were made fun of, and you know, the way my grandmother pronounced my name wasn't really attractive, so the kids used to make fun of it. I think after a while we do adapt to the American culture, but as I've gotten older, I've seen the difference between the ambition of being a Jamaican and the American culture. So yes, we do adapt to be an American, and I think it's just because we might be ashamed that we might not have what it is that's in Jamaica, that's in America. But it's like the pastor said, if we come here to be an ambassador of the country, we can now show that our country have a different type of pride and tenacity that the Americans would look up to us. But for some, you know, unfortunately, we did adapt to the things that we were, you know, we end up adapting here and not showing that ambassador level of our country. So I think that's what it is. It's just that we do end up trying to act like Americans a lot.
Now, and I'm going to step into it a bit. As most of you know, that there's been at times a divide between Jamaicans or people from the Caribbean and Black Americans, and it has been at times both a quiet or dirty little secret, and at times quite a loud secret that many of us talk about when we are with each other. Black Americans when they're with other Black Americans, Jamaicans or people from the Caribbean when they're from people from the Caribbean. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that that divide is? Because sometimes we've been called arrogant, with an air of superiority, etc. So why do you think that there is that divide and that sense of separateness?
I want to say that I don't think we're arrogant. I think we're confident. And you can mix up the two. Because if you don't know who you are, yes, it will come off as an arrogant way because now you are intimidated by us. And we are very strong people. If you go back to the tribe that we come back from in Africa, I believe we're West African. And in the slavery days when they were taming the slaves, they had ports and they dropped off certain slaves, and those slaves were the ones that they could not control. Yes, we have that stubbornness in us, but it made us who we are today. Either the stubbornness can stop us and hinder us, or it makes us stronger for who we are today, for where we're at. So I think that's why they mix up our confidence for arrogance. Now, there is arrogance and ignorance, and when that comes together, yes, it does throw it off. But you have to understand, we're coming from a country where we had to really, truly learn how to fend for ourselves. And though that there was slavery here in America, and they were released, and they also had to learn how to do it. We had a country, a whole country we had to learn, not a region. So that's why it could be thrown off, and that's why it's the separation that comes in.
I like to say that one of the reasons that many Jamaicans wound up where they were is that we caused so much trouble on the slave ships coming over that they said, listen, put them off first. We need to get them, out of off the ship. Exactly. So, but Janet, I'd like you to comment, on that also, that sense of possible divisiveness, and also how do we bridge that?
Well, when I left Jamaica, I left with a plan. And my plan was to educate my children. I didn't come here to buy no house on the hill, no fancy car, no nothing. I came to educate my children. That was the first part of the plan. And I implemented my plan to the max. I didn't have a problem about my children being smarter than everybody else. I don't care. I strove for excellence. A is the letter I know. A is a vowel. I don't believe in consonant and B's and C's, and I don't work with that. So my children had to excel. So if they were smarter than other people, fine. I did not have a problem them being smart. I did not come to America to be concerned about slavery and everything else. I came to get my children and education. That's what I did. And other people's children too, not only my children.
Well, Janet, that might almost sound like you were going for your own agenda to the exclusion of others. But one of the things that I do know about you is that you've devoted a tremendous amount of time in tutoring, in mentoring, and in really supporting many young Black American youngsters that have been going through college. As a matter of fact, Janet was a very strong influence at Valencia Community College here in Orlando, to the point where there was actually a Janet Bryan Day that was declared at Valencia, and as part of that, she took made the effort to tutor students, Black, white, Latino, at all hours and in all aspects. And if I can, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like what you were saying, that you used your standards and applied it to everyone, not just your children.
Yes, but what I did along the way was see to the welfare of other, mainly African American students, because they were lacking in mathematics.
Mm-hmm.
They were coming out of high schools with a honors degree and unable to literally count 2 plus 2. I could not see that. So I dedicated what I knew from teaching my children, teaching other people's children. I literally threatened to bust open children's head. This is not maybe the right time to say that, but I did. They will
you
tell
can say what you want.
I threatened to bust somebody's head open.
Old school.
Yes, I went old school on them, and they got it. They got it. Either you stay in my class and get an A or 100, or you go. I wasn't up to the foolishness about 65 is a pass grade. No, that's not a pass grade. You understand? That's a failing grade. 90 and up is good enough for me. And it didn't matter whether they were my children that I gave birth to or anybody else's child that I came in contact with. I dedicated 110% of my time to them. And that's, Malcolm X said it, the upliftment of the black race is only, and only is an absolute clause right there, only through education. There's no other way around it for us but through education.
Okay. As they said, that sounds like a period, stop. That's it. Excellent.
Well, you can't argue with that.
Exactly. Pastor, I wanted to also touch base with you, because you talked about your experience in being at the Navy base in Guantanamo. We know that Guantanamo now is very controversial, and then you're stepping from there, to Boston. What was it that kept you going? That striving, that you wanted to do something better for yourself, that you wanted to create something for you and your family. What was that?
Every day, I realize that what is in the inside, it must be in the inside. It doesn't work well on the outside. Mm-hmm. And the only person can bring it forward, it's me. Mm-hmm. It's like a pregnant woman. And the time comes. The first pain, the second pain, the third pain. The third pain is a time to push in. And I challenge my life that nobody can push for me. I have to push and bring forth that which is inside for myself. Mm-hmm. And I also want to say, I didn't say much before that. I also I'm American citizen. Okay. I held an American passport.
Okay.
So that's what kept me going down.
Okay.
I just believe that that which inside, I got to birth it, and no matter what, I got to birth it, and I got to do the right thing. Mm-hmm. And I believe when I left to come to America, that was the best choice, and God opened the way and get me here.
Okay, great. One of the things about immigration and the debate that is being talked about now, we've heard about the dreamers, the children that are of those undocumented individuals that are here in the States. Mm-hmm. And I believe that the children probably have are the most adaptable, but also have to make the most adaptations as they come over. And Bridget, you had talked about coming over as a young child. I also came over when I was about 5 years old. And I remember that sense of just thinking that this place, the United States, because I landed in Harlem at the time, and coming from also from country. I'm from a little place outside of Mandeville called Grove Place Settlement, and I think that there may have been about 600 people in that whole settlement or environment. But I want to ask you, Bridget, in coming here, what was some of the kind of adjustment? Because for some individuals, it can be very traumatic and feeling very much like an outsider. And for some individuals, as we've heard Pastor talk about it, it can be part of the fulfillment of a dream. What was it like for you?
It was very scary at first. I think my scariest time was when I got on the plane. You know, you're a little kid that have never seen a plane before, and I can just remember that first ride on the plane and everything shaking. And my story is a little different because, and I like what you just said. You came out of Harlem because when my grandmother first arrived here, she also resided in Harlem on 125th Street, and my mom stayed when she went and bought her first home. But just to get used to the family and the atmosphere, because I didn't have the opportunity to know who my mother was and my family was, because I stayed with my grandfather and some other friends of the family. When I got here, it was just adapting to everything, from knowing a new family and also knowing the environment. And I think the most horrible thing for me was, you know, when the little kids get their hair done, it's so pretty, and when the Jamaican mothers do your hair, you have the little pigtail hair and the pigtail hair. So I had to adapt to that. Kids making fun of me. And then one thing about a Jamaican family, let me explain to you something about a Jamaican family. We don't waste, and I'm putting myself in there because I am still Jamaican and fighting for my citizenship. And that's a whole nother story. They're making it harder for you to get your citizenship right now. But as a Jamaican family, they don't waste money on things luxurious. They everything has to has a value to it. So if I wanted Pro-Kids, you know, am I telling my age? Am I telling my age? Okay. Or Skippy.
All right.
I couldn't get it. It was a luxury because my grandmother felt, the money I'm going to put in these clothes, I can leave you something tangible. I'm going to leave you something that you now can have years later and enjoy it. And I appreciate that today. I really appreciate that today. But that was the difference of us growing up, because remember, I'm not going to say all American children, but the African American people, they're very fixated on materialistic things. And because I couldn't have the Jordache jeans, and it's not like we couldn't afford it. But if we're going to put money in something, it's going to be something that it has some value to it. So if anything, I've learned my value as I was growing up as a Jamaican. And another thing that I couldn't do, and I'm just going to be real, don't send me no hate mail.
Keep it real.
Okay. I was taught not to hang around the African American people.
Okay.
And it wasn't even said like that in the house. It was
All
like,
right.
don't hang around them. And I always wonder what was so wrong with them that I couldn't hang around them, and it was told that they didn't have any ambition and this and that. But when I did, it's just like anything else. I think it was that they weren't understood. And I said, there's nothing wrong with them. It's just no one's taking that time to understand. And it's just like Janice did. I have a parenting course, and I also coach and mentor out there, because I feel that why are we running away from a place that we said we're coming in, we've invaded their space to come in. why not just show them how to get that ambition and mentor them into go ahead.
Now that right there is a whole other show.
Okay.
No. Because she just said something that was very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's the perception around the world.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like you can be anything but a person of color.
Mm-hmm.
Because no matter what that is, I can remember a movie that was made. I think the movie was called A Brother from Another Planet.
Oh yes.
Okay.
I remember that.
I've heard
And
that movie before.
they were saying no matter where you go in the universe, no matter what planet you go to, if you find a black person on that planet, he gonna be this, and this, and this.
Wow.
And I'm putting it mildly. You know?
Right.
So it's just interesting because we all can tell stories, and I think one of the things that we wanted to talk about, probably later on, is that no matter how we, and I think that's the way that we're wired, because no matter what company you go to, as they try to have the diversity workshops, and diversity, whatever. And it's so funny because no matter what happens is that the black people walk in the room, they go over there. The white people, they go over there. The Hispanic people go over there. And for the most part, not all the time, but for the most part. And there's something in our DNA, for whatever reason, that we attach ourselves to. So it's kind of like, well, if the Haiti people come in, the Haitian people are going to go over there. The Jamaican people are going to go over there. The black people are going to go over there. The Africans are going to go over there. For whatever reason, that's just how we wired. Now the perception of whatever that is, because I'm pretty sure if I ask you, what do you find as far as part of racism, that I'll say, that you say, well, what do they say about Jamaicans? Or what is it that they say about Haitians? Or what is it that they say about Africans? What is it that they say about Black Americans? And we all have our story to tell.
Right.
So there's these things in which we have to fight through, and sometimes it's even within our own culture. So it's like, well, how are we going to win this battle when there's so much to try to overcome, even within ourselves? And I say this, and that's a whole nother show, in the sense that whether or not we're trying to get rid of the N-word, what that means,
Right.
and so on and so forth, because, well, this means this to this people, this means to that people. If you're not able to understand what it really means, and where did it really come from, is it really okay to use it? In reality, no. But in the world that we live in, well, you know, you might this, you might that, and some people can say it, some other people can't. And you know what I mean? It's like certain people can't walk through the door and use that word, some other people can't, because they mean it this way, we take it this way. When you say it now, right now, you're about to get knocked out.
Exactly. I think Janet's been itching to say something. Go ahead.
My first experience with racism was when my daughter was in school in Parsippany, New Jersey. There were only 2 black students in the school, and my daughter was one. But she was always fly dressed, and she was educated, because in Jamaica, you go to school at 2 years old. You don't go to no daycare. You go to school at 2 years old. So when she came here at 5, she could read. And these kids picked on her. And they called her the N-word and spit in her face. So I went to the school bus and I told her, show me the one who did it. I go down in your summer, come up and spit. You know, they didn't bother her no more, because that boy got it good. You just have to stand up and fight for what you believe in.
Can I interject on that one?
Okay.
I mean, we just started something.
Yeah.
But see, but at the same time, understand, being a person of color, it doesn't matter how smart you are.
That's true.
You know, because it doesn't matter even, like I said, that's a different show. Like, for an example, we can say, well, I'm going to kind of switch it up a little bit. Somebody like Tiger Woods, okay? Despite he's a billionaire. Tiger still deals with what he is, what he may not.
With racism.
But I'm saying he may not want to see it that way because wherever his reality is. But in reality, we know. Because, I mean, he got money, he can go places we can't go. But in reality, they still going to, you. And the same thing as Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby got all the bank in the world. But when he tried to buy NBC, he said, they said, no. We can't let you do that.
Exactly.
Well, I want to interject on that.
Okay.
We're talking about power. And my first experience with racism was in my own home because I was dark-skinned, because I was the blackest one. I was given away because I was too dark, and that's why my grandmother made the decision to bring me here. And I learned that, as Pastor said, something within. My book is called Change from the Inside Out, because the racism, when I look up what prejudice means, it's prejudice is a person, and I'm just paraphrasing, that anything different than what we perceive it to be. And I noticed that we operate so much off of fear, and to stay in a home to be ridiculed, disrespected. I've had from my sister and I, the darkest one. And my sister was burnt by my mother with a pot of boiling hot water because she hated us this much. So it's not the black and the Jamaicans, and it has to do with what is within us in our culture and what we believe. And yes, unfortunately, it turns into race, but and I'm going to get spiritual on this as a pastor.
Okay.
The devil has no color. He don't care if you're homosexual. He don't care if you love man, love woman. He just want one thing, that's your soul. So anything that it takes to destroy the human race, he uses the tactics for it. So that's all I have to say.
And then once again, that's why I said that this take on a whole different show, because there's so much in that.
Exactly.
From what she said, even within her own home.
Exactly.
Because we all know that, you got the light skin, you got the dark skin, you got the kind of not so dark, kind of not so light, and then you got the fight within that, and then this is better than this, and this is. So even within ourselves, our struggle, and there's something that I always say is that what has been established, the white man has to do nothing else from now until forever for the things in which we do to ourselves, how we see ourselves, and how we see others that supposed to be like us. They don't have to do anything else because we're going to do more damage than anybody else.
That's right.
Okay, Pastor.
I want to just share something quickly. There's a place in Jamaica by the name of Bull Savannah. You heard about it? Bull Savannah. There's some people in Bull Savannah. They look like they're white. And they will tell their sons and their daughter, you can't marry a black man. I have a good friend from Bull Savannah. And he could have married a black woman. I talk about Jamaica now. Bring her back to Bull Savannah. They would actually abandon him.
I was taught that.
Right. But
I wasn't supposed to marry a black man.
right. But nevertheless, I know we are on immigration. Am I right, sir?
That's right.
Immigration.
Exactly.
Amen.
Well. Interestingly, let me help support your point about and there is a connection between what we're talking about in terms of color, race, and immigration. As you will notice that in countries that have a high percentage of people of color, the immigration rules for those countries are different. As in you have one of the most obvious things are the things where Haitians are turned away in coming to the United States and sent back to Haiti. But Cubans, who, again, if you look at many, and most of the immigrating Cubans have tended to be light-skinned, and the Cubans, if they are able to touch land, they are given refuge, et cetera, et cetera. Now, there are some friends of mine would say, oh, it's political.
And Russians.
Okay. Well, and don't even talk about the immigration from the Eastern Europe. The kind of numbers that are allowed in from Eastern Europe are very different, from those that are from the Caribbean or from South America. So race or color still tends to be, it's critical in this. And we're going to get into next week into some of the legalities and who gets let in and who does not get let in. But I want to come back to what we were talking about as far as race is concerned. And I've had family members try to beat me down to say, oh, race differences, it's not the difference of race in Jamaica, it's class.
It is.
Okay?
Yes.
And so I'd like you to talk about that.
It is. It is. Because, like I said, when my grandmother first moved here, her first thing was she was not going to stay in Harlem. She was going to move to Queens, where the class was different. Now, it wasn't because of the race of the African American she didn't like. It was the class of people. And that's one thing about Jamaicans, they're big on class. My grandmother would have us say, show me a company and I'll show you who you are. And if I brought a certain class of people to them, it would be, no, we don't deal with them. And this is one of the reasons why I wasn't allowed to marry a black man. My grandmother would tell me, I'm grooming you to marry a white man. Well, what is white to them? White to them was, well, for my family, that my culture, because there is a culture within a culture. So for my culture, a white man is a very high esteemed person that has money. And for my grandmother, and now he could be a black man with money, but he better have some money. So she didn't, that was the class. That was the culture that I had to grow up in. And it was even the church they chose. It was more, we're going to, bleep bleep church because it's a big and they have the big luxurious. But if I say I'm going to Antioch Hole in the Wall, they're like, no, because they're not good enough for us. So yes, it is class. I do agree with you. It's class.
Last week we had a young teenager on the show. I asked him a question. It's not too often that I'm kind of stunned or when I kind of go like, but and you didn't say anything that we don't know, but sometimes even when you hear it, we really understand how difficult things are for us within ourselves, and how can we solve these problems, because it's a serious problem, because basically what you just said was kind of like how she saw herself in a sense.
Yes. I guess it's how I saw myself.
Right.
That's why I went through the suicides. That's why I went through the prostitution. This is why I fought myself for years of trying to kill this flesh of something that people had designed, and I saw the sickness and I didn't want to be sick anymore, but didn't know how to go to it. And because of God, because of where, because I wasn't brought up in the church. I was brought up in witchcraft. Anything class, anything that it has to do with money and brought them more money, they would worship.
Wow.
Okay. Janet?
Yeah. First I must big up Denham Town, people Hannah Town,
All right.
Jonestown, Trench Town, the whole of the town thing where listen to me. I know y'all sitting there, all right? So big up, remember, all right? I had to say that. Nowadays, Jamaica people are black by choice. Everybody at Jamaica brown with tall hair. No ugly people in Jamaica no more. Just go to town, go buy some robins. And everybody black, brown. No black people. We don't worry about the color thing no more in Jamaica because it's all in the ball now. Brown is all in the ball. You understand? Just rub some robins, even Korea would rub right now. All right? So we don't have that problem at Jamaica now. Everybody brown. So who black are by choice? They choose to be black.
All right.
By the way,
Okay.
let your friends know that they can follow us on Twitter, you know. So, I mean, I have the information up, so if they want to tweet, they go to the Journey 2020.
Yeah, I was Facebooking down.
Listen,
You know, Pastor Bridget ain't lost it.
one of the things I wanted to jump in since Janet
Went there.
Right,
Yes.
she went there. A little patois. Yeah. Charles, talk about just your experience as you were listening to Jamaicans and some of in the conversation.
Well, I was telling Dr. Robinson earlier that I've had the love and pleasure of dating two Jamaican women in my life, but I'm also very close to two that I would consider my sisters, that I'm very, 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 very close to. I'm really like their big brother. I'm probably closer to them than my actual sisters. But I was telling him about one of the girls that I dated, and her mother would cook every Sunday. So every Sunday I had the dinner. So I've gone through everything from everything, and she got mad at me because I would eat cow foot, but that's okay. You know. But I was telling Dr. Robinson that she would get mad at me, and every time I tell this story, even Dr. Robinson responded, and every time I tell the story, she would get mad at me because whenever the mom served a curry goat, I would put ketchup on it. So she was telling me I was messing up her culture because I put ketchup on my curry goat, and the mom would say that that's what he likes because I like my ketchup. And so when I started to cook, because I like to cook, and I started frying up my plantains, she got mad at me because I used to slice a little bit of apple to put in it. See, and she had that same look. So she told me.
I'm trying to understand.
So she told me that I was messing with her culture. You know, she was very upset by that. And I was telling Dr. Robinson, my other friend that I dated, she cooked the best oxtails that I've ever tasted. Nobody even come close to her oxtails. And I've had some good oxtails.
Did you put ketchup on it?
No.
Okay.
But she was mad with me because I wanted to have biscuits with my oxtails because I like to put the juice, the biscuit. But she didn't like that. So.
My grandfather, as long as you didn't do this, and it made my grandmother very upset. She would fry dumpling, and he would open it and put jelly in it as a biscuit. And he'll say, "Can I have some of that fried biscuit?" My grandma said, "It's not fried biscuits."
Right.
And she would also get mad at me because, the mother knew how much I love collard greens. And so she would come and say, "What is it with you Americans and these greens things? The greens, what is it with these collard greens?" And I said, "I'm just used to eating collard greens." And the mom would cook collard greens. And the first time that I thought I was having yams, I thought I was having the yellow yam, but I looked and I said, "Oh, that's a different color," because it was white, So, but I said, "Oh, okay, so yeah, that's my."
But you fell in love with our food.
Oh well, yeah, because my mom could cook.
Okay.
Yes.
And it shows stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I have no complaints about the food.
There you go.
None.
Okay,
go.
so since you went there, so what broke up the relationship with these two ladies? Is there something different about us Jamaicans?
Uh-oh.
That's my interview stuff.
There you go. There you go.
On the show, Charles.
Okay, Charles.
So why aren't they there anymore?
Which one do you want me to?
Are they watching now? Wait a minute.
Actually, both of them are married now.
Okay.
Okay. So that's what they wanted. They
Okay.
wanted to be married.
All right.
I did.
Is Jamaican women a little bit more challenging than the American women?
Sweetheart, in my life, no. Let me say this. We're gonna get off topic. But in my life, a woman is a woman. All y'all the same.
Oh, okay. I hope the
Bam.
public heard
It's
that.
just
Okay.
Like that, okay. So don't know. All y'all the same.
Bridget, I
Let us
have to tell you this, since as I say, we're going there. And one of the things that I had, as a single man before I got married, there were basically 3 rules that I had. And it was that, firstly, do not get involved with a Jamaican woman because they're too darn bossy. Okay? The second thing was, do not get involved with any woman that my family knew, because it means that the family going to get in your business. All right? And the third rule was, do not make any serious commitments until you finish your education.
That's good. I like
Well,
that rule.
I met my wife, who is from Port Maria. She happened to be the best friend of my cousin, so that was rule 2 out
You
the
broke
window.
those 2 rules.
And
Okay.
the third one was, I was just so smitten by her that I threw the third rule out the window right away. So when you said, is there something special about Jamaican women, I can attest that after 32 years of marriage that there definitely is.
There is.
So,
Now, one of the things that I can say, I will excuse the 2 that I call my sister. That's a whole different thing. They're totally different than the girls that I dated. But I can say that they were very down to earth, very practical. So that's one thing that I did admire about the book. And one of them I'm still friends with. One of them I haven't seen for years. I know she's somewhere over in the Melbourne area. I haven't talked with her in a very long time, but one of them I'm still very, very good friends with.
And since I think we'll segue back into everything. It's funny you said that, because my rule is I will never marry a Jamaican man. And I will never date a Jamaican man.
Why?
Okay.
Wait.
Okay.
I am prejudiced within the culture.
Okay, let's get back to immigration.
We only got 6 minutes.
Okay. What I like to do, and we're not letting you off the hook, Bridget, because I think we're gonna have to invite you back next week also. But Janet, you had a thing with as Bridget talked about practicality.
Yeah.
I remember you had started talking about a budget and some of the things that Jamaicans tend to do. And I don't know, you'd want to share with us just some of your thoughts on that?
Okay. If they want practicality and economics, go to people of West Kingston.
Okay.
It's cheap and clean, running the place.
Okay.
You give your man give a woman 500 Jamaican dollar, which is 5 US. She go to town, she buy $100 slippers, $100 skirt, $100 blouse, a $50 panty. She pay $80 for her bus fare, $10 suck her bag juice, and she pay $320 a day partner, $500 that. Cheap and clean around the place. The government of the US and Jamaica need to come to West Kingston so we could educate them how to balance the budget. All right? Remember, cheap and clean.
All right. That's one of the things that across the generations have been, if you want to call it a cultural value, that I believe has been passed down, and literally is, and that is to, and many times make something out of nothing. You know, and make it better than anybody else could have thought that that you could make it. One of the things that I want to comment as we talk about immigration, that many of us still have feelings both positive, as the pastor talked about, you know, being an ambassador. Many of us have negative feelings in terms of some of the lack of opportunity that, you know, was presented to us, you know, as Jamaicans, especially those individuals who may have grown up in certain parts of Jamaica, such as Janet, West Kingston. And one of the things that I believe that we can do as, if you want to call it expatriates or Jamaican Americans or whatever you want to call it, and that is that concept of giving back. That, and many of us can give back in many ways. We don't all need to go back to Jamaica, you know, to try to reinvent the wheel in terms of rescuing individuals. But I think we can give back in many, many different ways. As it's said in Scripture, whom much has been given, much is required. And that's one of the things that, in terms of unifying us, and of course, our national slogan is out of many, one people. And I think that striving towards one people, both there in Jamaica, but I also would say that we're constrained to attempt to make one people here in the United States. Again, not just with Jamaicans, not just with Black Americans, etc., but with people. One of the things that I like to say, because I've grown up in both cultures, and that is that many Jamaicans don't appreciate the depth and the uniqueness of the Jamaican spirit. And that is something that, as Pastor talked about, I think is an indomitable spirit. And by indomitable, for the brethren that want it simplified, is that we can't be beat, okay? The other thing is that in terms of unity, our being able to reach out, both reach forward to our children and to our children's children here, but also to reach back to the land of our birth, or the land that we had come from, is absolutely critical. Next week, and we don't have time this week, but I want to say Janet is involved in a project in Jamaica that is working with children who have been absolutely rejected by the larger community. And with almost nothing, is creating a school to educate these children. And I know we have very little time, but Janet, I just want to talk you to talk very briefly about the accomplishment of this school that doesn't even have desks for the children. Go ahead.
Wait, one minute.
Joseph Roy Educational Center, 11 to 15 Blunt Street, Anatown, Kingston 14. B+ school by the government. Big up Joseph Royal. That's all it takes. Dedication from both students and teachers. All right? So, big up. B+. Remember, B+. We're working for the A now.
Okay. Pastor, you want to close us out?
Yes. Just one thing I want to say. Earlier, you spoke about giving back to Jamaica, giving back to the communities. 2 years ago, I went to St. Anne's to do a concert. I'm a recording artist too. And the pastor down there asked us if we can assist a school in St. Mary. And we willingly, me and next artist, went and do a free concert to help the school. And what bothered me so much, and I will do it anytime, when I went back to the school, I said the same thing like when I used to go to school in the 60s. Little piece of paper hung up there. That's what the kids that grew up in the country does not have the opportunity like the children that grow up in Kingston.
Okay. And with that, we have to close out our program this week. We will have part 2 next week where we talk further about the legal restrictions and opportunities as far as immigration is concerned. For now, I'd like to say to you and the family of the journey is from me to you and from you to me. Good night.